listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Hello everybody and welcome to the West of Scotland Karting Club here in the gorgeous Scottish sunshine. It is a fantastic weekend for the third meeting in the Super 1 Series calendar for the Two-Tone Money Super 1 British Karting Championships. I'm Jake Sanson up in the commentary box overlooking the start-finish line here at the Summerlee Raceway, and it is an absolutely superb day at the office with great racing on the way from all of our classes here this weekend. The MSA Bambinos, the Mini X30s, the IAME Cadets, the Junior TKM and X30, and then the Senior X30 and TKM Extreme. It's going to be an absolutely amazing weekend at the office here with 8 classes racing around this fantastic circuit, which is looking absolutely gorgeous and green all the way around this magnificent cathedral of Scottish speed with so many great reputations cemented, founded and then established here, from the DeRestas to the Frank Kitties to David Coulthard to Alan McNish. Onwards and onwards the list goes on, and of course we've got some amazing champions both national and world from this very circuit, the likes of Angus Mulsdale and of course the reigning CIK FIA OK World Champion Dexter Patterson, who is back here on local soil. More of that later, as at the moment we have the Bambinos out on the circuit, and this is a first. The MSA Bambinos officially racing for the first time in 2018. These guys are not rookies, they have had a little bit of time in the Bambinos to get into it. So MSA Bambino racing for the very first time at national level. Before this, it was basically an effective test session at MSA Bambino level, and now the drivers are allowed to race provided they have basically done their rookie orientation. So there's not a single rookie in this grid. They all know how to drive these karts, and they are about to step into the unknown for the first time in MSA Bambinos. They will race, and in the qualifying session here for the Bambinos we have just under 2 minutes to go, and at the moment it is the local hero Fraser Anderson who is topping the timesheets, just 0.03 of a second ahead of Freddie Duncan in the 16 car. Aston Sharp currently in third position from Oscar O'Sullivan, Evie Davidson and Ryan McCall rounding out the top 6 from Gregor Reed, Sky Parker, the Welsh lady, then Laith Khan, Fletcher Jameson and Freddie Hare, and there's only a second and a half between them in this first qualifying session as an official MSA Bambino Racing Championship. For all those of you who are listening, wherever you are listening around the UK and the world, do please chat to us via the Spreaker chat box. We will try and keep up to date with all of your messages wherever you possibly can. If you're listening around the circuit here at Larkhall, you can interact with me either via Twitter, if you're still old enough to remember what Twitter is, at Jake Sanson. And of course, you can chat to us via the Spreaker application on your phones. If you're listening to the coverage via that, just send us a message in the chat box, whoever you are supporting, whoever you are rooting for. Any messages, if I make a mistake, I tend to, do please make sure that you correct me, and we will make sure that everything is merry and bright. Also, if there are any drivers wanting a quick word in between races to promote themselves a little bit or get the word out there about where they're competing and how well they're doing, as long as it doesn't get too crowded in here, we will make sure that you can have a little bit of time on the airwaves as well. There's not a lot of space up in the commentary box here at the Summerlee Raceway at Larkhall, but there's certainly enough space to be able to see all of the great action, particularly into that fantastic last corner, which will always hold a very special memory for me as a commentator. A few years ago, we had that amazing O-Plate final when 3 cadets went into the final corner together, ended up into the wood shavings on the far side, and the man who was in 4th place that day, somebody called Johnny Edgar, went through to win. And of course, nowadays, he's part of the Red Bull Junior Brigade. So, from tiny acorns, mighty oaks grow, and these guys are doing an absolutely cracking job as MSA Bambinos. The time session comes to a close, and Oscar O'Sullivan has gone straight up to the top on a 56 dead. Fraser Anderson in 2nd place, Freddie Duncan in 3rd from Aston Sharp and Evie Davidson. There's still time to go faster though for these guys, and they know it. So it's O'Sullivan from Anderson, Duncan, Sharp, Davidson, McCall, Reed, Sky Parker, Freddie Hare, Laith Khan and Fletcher Jameson. But not everybody saw the checkered flag that time by, so there's still time for these guys to get a faster lap in. And some of them will be pushing very hard indeed to get to the top spot. But at the moment, it is Oscar Sullivan on a 56 dead. Is that going to be the pole time in MSA Bambinos for the first ever race meeting for MSA Bambinos at national level? The national championship, official British championship for MSA Bambinos. Over the line comes the 10 of Fraser Anderson. Not quite enough to go fastest, but very good indeed. Over the line they come. O'Sullivan looks like he's going to remain top from Anderson, Duncan, Sharp. O'Sullivan up to 5th goes Sky Parker right at the end. Sky Parker goes P5 right at the end there. The Welsh lady lining up alongside her compatriot Evie Davidson from Scotland. And they have got those 2 ladies on the 3rd row of the grid. So it's O'Sullivan, Anderson, Duncan, Sharp, Parker, Davidson, and then McCall, Reed, Hare, Khan and Jameson. And the gap is only 1.7 seconds from the front to the back. I tell you what, MSA Bambino in 2018 is going to be spectacular. Great to see these young talents racing at MSA level for the very first time. And there's a lot of expectation on these young kids' shoulders. All of them very well experienced now at Bambinos. They have driven the karts very well indeed. But out in first position in the timed practice, in the time qualifying session, it is Oscar O'Sullivan who is at the very top from Fraser Anderson and Freddie Duncan. Aston Sharp P4 from Sky Parker, Evie Davidson, Ryan McCall, Gregor Reed, Freddie Hare, Laith Khan and Fletcher Jameson. That is the first ever timed qualifying session for a race meeting at the MSA Bambino National Championships here at the Tutto Money Super 1 British Karting Championships. That's a landmark moment, and the first man ever on pole position for such an event, he can remember that one forever and ever, is Oscar O'Sullivan, and that's a nice feather in the cap, to be fair. So, great racing still to come, and all sorts of magnificent action from the other 7 classes, as well as the MSA Bambinos, of course. There will be plenty to come from the battles. For those who have clicked our Facebook page link, Downforce UK, and want to leave us a comment via there, you can do that as well. But as long as we keep the conversation flowing all the way through, you'll get your 2 cents in, and everybody hopefully will be able to communicate a little bit with what is happening with the live coverage. We had lots of comments last time we were in the Super 1 paddock, which was back at PF International last month. Apologies for our absence at Wilton Mill, but we are great and very, very happy to be back here at the Larkhall circuit in Scotland. Just while we're in the pause between the 2 sessions, many people will be very pleased to hear I have got well and truly Scottish over the course of the weekend as well. Got here first thing yesterday morning and soaked myself in the atmosphere. Not just the fact that this wonderful circuit provides great racing, but last night, those who are local will be pleased to know I wandered into the Larkhall town centre yesterday, found a chip shop and tempted myself to deep fried haggis and a battered Mars bar. Yes, you've got to do it properly when you come to Scotland, haven't you? And then duly fell asleep listening to Ricky Fulton and Billy Connolly on my laptop. It doesn't get much better than that, does it? Anyway, we've got the racers about to get underway for the timed qualifying session for Mini X30 up next, and this is going to be an interesting one with some local flavour on the grid here this weekend, and obviously the experience is definitely going to count at this level, as the drivers will want to put on a bit of a show for the spectators here. And in Mini X30, there is quite a spectacle. We have the championship leader, Josh Rowledge, the number 14 from Ashington, running on the Tony Kart chassis, looking like he's going to have a really good day at the office. And then, of course, there's those 3 incredibly talented lads for the Cato Motorsport Brigade, the likes of Aaron Walker, Harvey Ryby and Daniel Bolton, all going very, very well indeed. But this weekend, we have the local man, Cian Shields, the man who lives literally a few minutes down the road from here, who out in Valencia a couple of months ago, I started to coin as the Flying Scotsman, and I'm going to continue to do so because what he has done on the European scene as a rookie out in Europe has been absolutely phenomenal. The IAME Winter Cup 3rd position overall as a privateer is quite astonishing. Now he's with the Fusion Motorsport team here in Mini X30, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do on home soil. That is definitely going to come into fruition. He's alongside Jesse Carrasquedo, who joins the championship here this weekend with Fusion Motorsport for the Huntingdon Brigade. He's come a long way to be here, and obviously he wants to do as good a job as possible. And their other teammates, of course, are Jessica Edgar and Josh McLean. Jessica Edgar, of course, the winner last time out at winner at PF International in the televised final. And, of course, the televised final winner last time out at Wilton Mill was Josh Rowledge, who, of course, is now the championship leader in Mini X30. When I say championship leader, of course, it is not an official championship, but I'm still doing the mathematics of the points in my head to see who would have worked out as the official champion. And I would not at all be surprised if there is some sort of prize giving for the Mini X30 class towards the end of the season as well. But for these guys, it is just as big a deal as it is for the drivers in the national championship classes as well. And in Mini X30, we've had absolutely incredible battles through the field. None the least of those who I've already mentioned. But then you've also got the likes of Rashan Chigarimbo, the man from Kettering. And then, of course, we've also had some great battles from Ivan Lomliev, the Coles Racing driver, from all the way down in the other capital of Great Britain, all the way down from London. So he's really had a trek to get up here, but he's been going pretty well over the course of the time practice and qualifying, time practice sessions, I should say, so far. We're going to qualifying now to see how well he can go. And then, of course, there's also the threat of the ever-present Jacob McComb, the man from where I'm from, actually, from Chester. So great to see him doing an absolutely fantastic job. And if he gets on the podium, I'm sure they'll dance on the D tomorrow afternoon. Anyway, so make sure you take a canal boat to do it, though, eh? Anyway, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic run around the circuit here. And then, of course, we've got all of these drivers hoping to put on a good show right from the word go. But I think already the established guard in Mini X30 need to watch out for Cian Shields. His form at the moment is absolutely sky high. And I know this is only his first meeting of the 2018 season, but considering how well he knows this place, considering how well his form is at the moment, in my book, he could potentially be the one to beat. But there are some very, very talented racing drivers up and down this grid. Some rookies and some elite drivers already, having had plenty of experience to do so. But the lead rookie battle is obviously going to be an interesting one. Josh Rowledge leading that at the moment because he is also leading the overall championship. But the other rookies in the game, Jessica Edgar, Jacob McComb and Harvey Ryby, all wanting a really good, strong performance here this weekend as well. And that's one of the things I also quite like about these championships. Not only do you get the overall spread of the battle, but you also get to see who the top rookies are and how well they're going. And to be fair to them, all four of the rookies so far this year, Rowledge, McComb, Edgar and Ryby, have shown spectacular pace and really, really strong discipline, particularly in the terms of discipline from the likes of Jacob McComb and Harvey Ryby. They've been going really well in terms of their natural competitive nature. They've been getting better with every single session. Their composure, their dedication, their work commitment has been incredibly strong over the first two meetings. We've seen some great overtaking moves, but even when things haven't quite been going their way in that moment, they've held their ground. They've been very solid, very composed, and that's the kind of thing that turns you into champions. So it's really, really great to see drivers at this level already starting to get a little bit of a handle over how they go racing. Here we go, and it's time qualifying out on the circuit, and this is where things are going to start going very well indeed for the drivers as they push on out onto the circuit. So Josh Rowledge, Aaron Walker, Cian Shields, Ivan Lomliev, Jacob McComb, Oliver Duffel, Jessica Edgar, Harvey Ryby, Josh McLean, Dan Bolton and Rashan Chigarimbo. That's your field in Mini X30 time qualifying. And so far, it's not clear-cut who's going to get the pole. It's been very close at the top end of the field, very close in the midfield too. As they start to gain track position out there, we can just see a little bit of a traffic jam developing as the 84 Dan Bolton is trying to get track position over Jacob McComb, and the Dulux cart, the number 32, looks absolutely amazing out there actually as Bolton tries to gain some track position, and that will impede McComb's first time run. But now McComb is actually going to work with Bolton around the circuit on their first timed lap. So the driver's putting in a lot of decent laps around the circuit thus far. I've been told actually that as the weekend goes on, even though the track is going to get hotter and potentially stickier, a lot of people have been telling me over the course of yesterday, I think we've already seen the ultimate fastest lap times in practice from these classes, and that's largely because of the fact that the TKMs are here for the first time this season, and because they lay down their rubber a certain way and it's a different sort of tyre compound to the X30s, then they're actually going to make the circuit a lot stickier, and that compromises lap times. So we may well have already seen the fastest lap times ultimately over the course of the session, but as they come across to complete their first flying lap, we've got at the top of the table, Ivan Lomliev has gone to the very top, 40.67, 300ths ahead of Rashan Chigarimbo in the Jade Racing cart. Then it is Josh Rowledge, Aaron Walker, Oliver Duffel, Cian Shields, Jess Edgar, Dan Bolton, Jacob McComb, Josh McLean and Harvey Ryby. It's not going to end that way though. They will shuffle all the way through this session. Dan Bolton has made his way to the front of the queue, and he has put himself on a 41.54. And he is running around the circuit with Cian Shields at the moment in the number 22 for Fusion Motorsport, who already on paper you could suggest if he's not on the podium, he's having a very bad day indeed, for my money. Chigarimbo goes fastest of all, and then Ivan Lomliev beats him. So it's Lomliev, Chigarimbo, Shields, Walker, Bolton, Edgar and Jacob McComb at the moment in 7th place. Then it is Josh McLean from Rowledge all the way down in 9th position. What's happening there with Oliver Duffel and Harvey Ryby on a 42.0. Clearly some problems for Harvey Ryby then at the moment, but he should settle down into his rhythm fairly soon. In fact, he looks to be doing just that on this 3rd flying lap. So they come up the top end of the circuit and down towards that final turn. Cian Shields first on the road from Bolton, and McComb, who looks really well composed here actually. Looks like he's got a flying lap in there. That's much quicker from McComb. He's just done a 40 dead, and that's a really good lap from him. It's only 0.4 of a second away from pole. That's how close it's going to be here this weekend, as Josh McLean goes right up to the fastest of all with purple sector times in sectors 2 and 3. So a good run thus far from Josh McLean, as Lomliev is second from Chigarimbo, Shields, Rowledge, Walker, McComb, Bolton, Duffel, Edgar and Ryby. And that's only 0.8 of a second from the front to the back. How are you going to call a race winner if it's this close in qualifying? Out to the final turn. And the driver's coming through once again. Shields again in the front end of the pack, has gone up to 2nd place. Oh! That sounds like a little bit of a contact there. It's Oliver Duffel. Oliver Duffel has gone into the barriers over the line. So a bit of a problem there for Oliver Duffel, and that's going to wipe out his next flying lap as well, unfortunately, as he's now having to spend a little bit of time recovering the kart. But it's so easy to lose it out of that final turn. And Oliver Duffel, I'm afraid to say, has been the one who's dropped it on this occasion. We've seen a few drivers go off at that final turn. It's very deceptive. It can catch drivers out very easily. So they come through at the end of what is now their 5th time lap. And Josh McLean will come through. Is he still going to be on top of the pile? A 39.37 initially. Up to first goes Rashan Chigarimbo. Chigarimbo goes fastest of all. Then it's McLean, Rowledge, Lomliev, Shields, Walker, McComb, Bolton, Edgar, Duffel and Ryby. Less than a second still, covering the entirety of the field. And I think Duffel, I'm afraid to say, looks like he's picked up some bad damage from that off of the final turn. And that means that Oliver Duffel, in 10th position at the moment, is not going to go any further in this qualifying session. That is a shame. And it would have been really good to see him there. Oh, Jacob McComb giving us a little bit of an experience as to what we'll see in the race from him, as he's getting feisty there with Dan Bolton. He is one of those drivers who will try a good overtake and is very disciplined in doing so as well. So really, really good at it. Here they come over the line. No major improvements thus far, until Lomliev comes across the line, and then he's only 0.06 of a second behind Chigarimbo. So Chigarimbo leads from Lomliev, McLean, Rowledge, Shields, Walker, McComb, Bolton, Edgar, Ryby and Duffel. And this now is their final flying lap. So they've got to find something pretty special this time around. Fantastic, beautiful, gorgeous sunshine here at the Summerlee Raceway, just down the road from Glasgow. And the drivers here in Mini X30 pushing themselves right to the death. It's going to be a very interesting checkered flag. Are we going to see a few changes in the dais? We'll find out as drivers are finishing off their lap times. No major improvements at the moment. I think it's going to be Chigarimbo fastest of all, and that's confirmed it. So it's Chigarimbo who is fastest from Ivan Lomliev, Josh McLean, Josh Rowledge, Cian Shields, Aaron Walker, Jacob McComb in 7th from Dan Bolton. Then it's Jessica Edgar, Harvey Ryby and Oliver Duffel, who had that little off, if you remember, just out of the final turn. But at the front of the grid, it's Rashan Chigarimbo, who puts the Jade Racing kart number 92 in pole position for the first heat, which will be coming up later on this afternoon. So it starts perfectly for Oscar O'Sullivan in the Bambinos and for Rashan Chigarimbo in the Mini X30s. And the Jade Racing team, which of course runs the Birolart chassis, they'll be very happy indeed with that, and that's a great start to the weekend for Rashan Chigarimbo, who's really starting to make some headlines in this Mini X30 Championship in 2018. So a positive start then of the Cato Motorsport team, who have almost as many karts in the mix as the Fusion Motorsport team. We've got Josh McLean in 3rd for Fusion. Cian Shields is 5th. Then we have Jessica Edgar in 9th position. So a good battle of drivers there. I thought we were going to see Jesse Carrasquedo, but unfortunately it looks as though his original entry is no longer in the mix, which is a real shame. Then, of course, we have the three Cato Motorsport drivers, Aaron Walker, Dan Bolton and Harvey Ryby. They are 6th, 8th and 10th in qualifying at the moment, so not bad as things currently go. And we'll see how the drivers work out through the course of the racing. The good thing about this class is that the grid does not necessarily set the tone for the racing itself. But all positive signs for Rashan Chigarimbo at the moment, the Jade Racing Kart driver on the Birolart chassis, doing a cracking job and in first position from Lomliev, McLean, Rowledge, Shields, Walker, McComb, Bolton, Edgar, Ryby and Oliver Duffel. And that is your grid for the Mini X30s. Next up, though, it is the IAME Cadets, and it's been ultra competitive in the 2018 season. I stand on record when I say that IAME Cadet this year has provided the most exciting cadet race I have ever seen. And that was the televised final back at PF International in April. That was one heck of a race. I have yet to see an IAME Cadet race better than that. However, here today or here tomorrow, it could well be even overtaken because we've got an amazing crop of drivers in the IAME Cadet Brigade. They really are at the top of their profession in this particular category. We've got so many drivers competing for the battles, and there's been a bit of a shift in terms of the politics of this championship as well, because we've got two drivers at the front for Fusion Motorsport in Freddie Slater, the O-Plate, and William McIntyre, the local man, of course, in the number 8. However, we've also got an interesting one because we have Arvid Lindblad and Maxwell Dodds both racing in Oliver Rowland Motorsport colours. Yes, Maxwell Dodds has moved teams for this weekend, and it looks as though he and Arvid Lindblad have formed a super team in the Oliver Rowland Motorsport Brigade, and that's really interesting indeed. And they're not the only two drivers at Oliver Rowland, of course, because we've also got Brandon Carr in the mix as well, and there is a third driver in at Fusion Motorsport as well. And that, of course, is going to be for Oliver Wright. Well, I've been told that the junior TKM is up in front. No, sorry, the TKM Extreme is the next one on the bill. My apologies. So it looks as though we've had a slight change of order from from what I previously thought was going to be happening. No, my apologies. I was just looking at the wrong page. My apologies. Shall we just start that all again? Try once more. TKM Extreme is up next. Always the way. That's my first big humdinger of the weekend. No matter. You don't remember it. And TKM Extreme is up next as they all head out onto the circuit. And this is going to be a majorly competitive field. And they have actually been spread out into two categories for this weekend. Such is the extent of the entry list in TKM Extreme. So they have been separated into two halves. And at the moment out on the circuit, we've got the Jade Racing drivers, Sam Fowler, Harry Moore and Max Goldsmith heading out onto the circuit. From Talco Racing, it is Adam Sparrow and Joe Stockford. We've also got a few privateers in the mix, the likes of Owain Rosser, Cristiano Nardoni, Jack Darton, who's not yet left the pits, I notice. And then, of course, we've got the likes of Matthew Taylor and Nathan Wells. There are a lot of other drivers in this group as well to keep an eye on, the likes of Ross Deal, Matthew Horton, Samuel Johns, Christian Briley, Andrew Lawrence, Isaac Marsh and Ryan Cole, all in this mix. So the drivers going full gusto as the Jade Racing team lead the charge forward with the Birolart chassis, and that's going to be interesting to see how well they go. Harry Moore is leading the way around the circuit at this present moment in time, but the drivers will want to get a fast lap time here. Now, in the mix of the battle for pole position, we'll be getting somewhere in the mix of about the 38s or 37s, I reckon, from these sort of times that we've seen represented earlier in the weekend. So let's see what the ultimate pole position time is. The hottest part of the day as well, this, of course, the just post noon. And, of course, the drivers are going to be working the karts very hard indeed to get a decent lap time in. First flying lap comes from Sam Fowler, and it's a 41.30. So we're going to have some very interesting times from them as things progress. Matthew Taylor now does a 48.5, and up to the very top goes Ross Steele. The Welshman has put in a 40.72. That's the benchmark for everybody else. The gap all the way down to 18th place, and Joseph Reeves-Smith, the Litchfield Motorsport privateer, who's just gone out onto the circuit, I should point out. So that's not representative yet. He'll go faster as things progress. Now, who's that running very slowly? I think that is Joseph Reeves-Smith, actually, for Litchfield Motorsport. It is, as he's getting himself up to speed. And he's got problems. So there's definitely something with the kart that he's not happy with. He's not able to get a fast lap time out of the machinery at the moment. But over the line, Christian Briley goes to the top on a 40.61, just a whisker ahead of Moore. Matthew Taylor goes top. Sparrow now goes top. Ross Deal slots into third position ahead of Johns, Lawrence and Brierley. Harry Moore is seventh from Sam Fowler. Then it's Cristiano Nardoni and Isaac Marsh. Half a second between the top 10. Max Goldsmith in there as well in 11th place with exactly the same time to the 100th of a second as Isaac Marsh. So that's really interesting. Rosser in 12th from Wells, Coles, Stockford, Brickley, Horton and Reeve Smith, who has not yet set a competitive fast time. So we'll see what he can do. And Jack Darton has not started the session as yet. And with only 3 minutes to go, I'll be interested to see if he can actually do so. Now, Joseph Reeve Smith has slotted himself in beside Harry Moore, who's come through and gone to the top. Sparrow now goes fastest on a 40.07. So Adam Sparrow does a 40.07. And that puts him right up at the top. We should get the 39s before this session is over. And we'll probably get a good 3 or 4 laps out of these karts yet. Still great racing to come from these guys over the weekend, but the time qualifying session really gives us an indication as to who's got the early pace and, of course, who can get their karts up to speed naturally right from the get-go. There could be a few teams that will be tweaking setup and then trying to charge their way forward from the first heat, but we'll find out that a little bit later on in the day. Across the line, Sparrow is now top. As we know, Christian Brierley gets himself in a second from Moore, Matthew Taylor, Ross Deal, Sam Fowler, Andrew Lawrence and Samuel Johns, who moves up to fourth. Ross Deal goes fastest of all. So Ross Deal has done a 40.01. Really good work there from Ross Deal to go fastest of all. The Welshman is only 0.06 of a second quicker than Adam Sparrow, but he's fastest of all in the second and third splits. That's where he's gained the time. So a really good start to proceedings for Deal with 2 minutes to go in the session. And I reckon that gives us 3 laps around this circuit, including this one. So the drivers will get a couple more decent opportunities to get a fast lap in as the drivers continue to run around. And no change at the very top at the moment. Brierley and Moore have come through. Ryan Cole shoots up to P4. Matthew Taylor shoots up to P4 now on a 40.18. There is less than 0.2 of a second covering the entirety of the top 6. Amazing stuff from TKM Extreme. We knew this was going to be a very competitive field, but with the top 6 covered by less than 0.2 of a second, pole position is literally going anybody's way in that top 10. Really, really good start to the day here at Larkhall in Scotland for this third weekend in the Super 1 Series Championship. But of course, this is the first round of the championship for the TKM classes. TKM Extreme going very well indeed so far in this first group of the time qualifying. Over the line, and a good run there from both Harry Moore and Christian Brierley as they went around the circuit together. Ryan Cole goes fastest and breaks the 40-second barrier. 39.97. Ross Steele goes even quicker. 39.94. So we have 2 drivers within 40 seconds now, and they have broken the 40-second threshold. It's Ross Steele who leads now from Ryan Cole, Adam Sparrow, Christian Brierley, Matthew Taylor, Harry Moore, Goldsmith, Nardoni, Johns and Stockford, with Joseph Reeve Smith having moved up into 11th place now. Then it is Lawrence, Wells, Rosser, Fowler way down in 15th place. Something's not right with him, and he's only 0.4 of a second off the fastest time. Horton is 16th, then Marsh and Brickley. 0.8 of a second between 18 karts. That's how close it is in this class. One more lap around the circuit for the drivers as they come through at the end of this one. And we'll see what sort of pace they're giving us. Ross Steele still fastest of all. Joseph Reeve Smith up to 8th. And then Nardoni goes up to 4th on a 40.09. Good work from Cristiano Nardoni, who gets in there into 4th place. So it is now Deal, Cole, Sparrow, Nardoni, Brierley, Taylor, Moore, Goldsmith, Reeve Smith and Sam Johns. And there is less than 0.4 of a second between the top 14 karts. That is incredible. And the checkered flag is out now. So it's time for the drivers to finish off their time lapse. Hopefully they've got the best out of these karts in the final reckoning. So let's see what happens. Any major improvements? Yes, Sam Fowler back up to 6th place. That's much more like it for Fowler. P6 is where he will remain. But is anybody going to change things in the final stages of qualifying? Only Stockford and Sparrow have not finished their runs now. 42 comes across the line. I think that's all she wrote, actually, because I think Sparrow and Stockford have come into the pits. So, what a save from Sam Fowler, getting himself into the top 6. And there's less than 1/4 of a second covering the top 6 karts. Amazing. Ross Steele on a 39.94 is fastest of all, from Ryan Cole in 2nd. Adam Sparrow on the Talco kart is 3rd. And then it is Cristiano Nardoni in 4th place, the leading privateer. Christian Brierley in 5th, from Sam Fowler in 6th. Then it is Matthew Taylor, Harry Moore, Max Goldsmith, Joseph Reeve Smith, Sam Johns, Joe Stockford. Then it is Andrew Lawrence, Nathan Wells, Owain Rosser, Matthew Horton, Isaac Marsh and David Brickley. 18 karts covered by 0.8 of a second. That is pretty astonishing stuff. But Ross Steele's time of 39.94, an average speed of 47.72 miles an hour, is enough to put him at the top of the tree. Really exciting stuff here at this magnificent Summerlee Raceway circuit. And we've got plenty of great time qualifying action to come.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
The second of the TKM sessions for the TKM Extreme time qualifying is up next, and that will be our second half of the TKM Extreme competitors. We'll get some cracking racing from them over the course of proceedings. And the drivers really wanting to start their 2018 campaigns in earnest, because all the other championships that are here, except for the TKM classes and MSA Bambinos, have had their first rounds of the championship. In fact, they've had their first 2 rounds of the championship at PF International and Wilton Mill. But all the way up here in Scotland for the TKM classes and for the first round of the championship in MSA Bambino. This is their first round of the 2018 season, and it's great to see the spread of the TKM Extreme field so close in that first group. 18 karts separated by just 0.8 of a second, and that's just one half of the group as well. An absolutely fantastic run. Great to see the fantastic spread of spectators up and down the length and breadth of the pit lane here, and there's going to be more of them over the course of the weekend as well. There's an amazing flavour for motor racing in this part of the world. Don't forget that, of course, this is the circuit that has spawned so many incredible world beaters over the years. Alan McNish, Paul and Stefan de Resta, and then, of course, you've got the likes of David Coulthard, Dario and Marino Franchitti, Angus Mulsdale, who is a national champion, Dexter Patterson, who is a world champion. It's amazing. This area of the country, there must be something in the water or something. It just breeds great racing drivers and has done for the last 30 years of motor racing. As long as I've been alive, this circuit has been providing incredible racing champions, and it is wonderful to see all of the amazing talent that we get up and down the length and breadth of British karting around this incredible circuit. And what a gorgeous weekend we've picked for it, this first round of the championship as well. I expected, coming up to Scotland, and many people told me, I hope you've packed your winter woolies, mate, because it's going to get quite cold. No, it's not. Quite the opposite, in fact. We're all sweltering out here in the sunshine as we get ready for the second half of the TKM Extreme qualifying session. The drivers head out on track as they immediately start to push the tyres, get the wheels spinning and get the brakes up to temperature as we get underway racing. The way they came out of the pits there, it's almost as if it's wet as the drivers are sliding around all over the place out of the circuit. They're not, of course. They're just trying to get some heat into the tyres by getting the back end really lit up and pushing it around the first couple of corners. A lot of these drivers, of course, up and down the length and breadth of the grid have been playing around on the kart sim as well, which is here in the clubhouse at the Summerlee Raceway. The kart sim boys are here, and there's still opportunities all through the weekend if you want to go racing. Oh, we've got a problem for the 78 straight off the bat. Now, that is Pete Newman. So Pete Newman's got a problem already, and they're going to have to bring his car back to the pits and hopefully get it fired up again. But that's a real disaster for Pete Newman. His qualifying session starting in the worst possible fashion. So hopefully they will get him started up again, and it won't cause too much of a headache for his weekend preparation. Now, Daniel Butcher-Lord has set the first flying lap of this session. Joe Fowler in second place, Alex Rees in third, Louis Bevan is fourth from James Whittaker and Rob Wellham, then Josh Sheriff, John Hogan, Chris Whitten and Lee Whittingham. Then it is Zach Bowen, and then we have Lewis Wadley from Carl Sprout, Lewis Rushforth, Gavin Pitt and Amy Duke. But those are not flying laps as Peter Newman goes out onto the circuit once again. Now we're getting the first flying laps in there, and once more they're in the 41s. If anybody can get into 39s from this session, they are looking at a potential pole position. So that's what they're charging for. And Kyle Sprout has gone 40.95 on early doors from Rob Wellham and John Hogan. John Hogan's gone up into third place on his first flying lap. James Whittaker in fourth. Then it's Dan Butcher-Lord, Lee Whittingham, Louis Bevan in seventh place. Then it's Joe Fowler, Matthew Ayres, and rounding out the top 10 at the moment is Lewis Wadley. Then we've got Alex Rees, Gavin Pitt is in 12th place, then Josh Sheriff, the leading rookie, Zach Bowen, Amy Duke, Lewis Rushforth and Chris Whitten, with no sign as yet of Theo Hesketh or Alexander Lemon. I'm not sure what's happening there. Joe Fowler goes to the top on his second flying lap. Up to second comes Josh Sheriff. Josh Sheriff's gone second. That's a great lap from Josh Sheriff, a 40.50. Then up to second comes Rob Wellham for the Precision Racing team. John Hogan's now gone third again in the 73. So Sheriff is still there in the top 4. It's Fowler from Wellham, Hogan, Sheriff, Bevan and Ayres at the moment. A good run from Matthew Ayres, the privateer. Leading privateer, in fact. A 40.56 from him. And the top 6 again separated by very little. Just 0.4 of a second in it. Then it's Gavin Pitt, Daniel Butcher-Lord, Lee Whittingham and Kyle Sproat. Over the line come the leaders once again on the timing sheets, and over the line Alex Reese goes up into 4th place. Dan Butcher-Lord goes up to 2nd on a 40.35. Up to 3rd comes Carl Sproat with 3 drivers on the same time. 40.35 from Butcher-Lord, Sproat and Reese, with Rob Wellham going into 2nd place. John Hogan has popped up into 5th position. So Rob Wellham has now gone on a 40.24, so he's improved his time, but 40.35 was a very popular lap time for a whisker of a moment there. There's less than half a second, folks, covering the top 14 karts. This is how good TKM Extreme is around the Larkhall circuit. It's ridiculously close. Here they come again. The 14 out there is just getting himself up to speed. Gavin Pitt made a bit of a mistake by the look of it out on that last lap and is now trying to get himself up to a flying lap once again. Fowler is your leader. Bevan up to 2nd. Ayres 3rd. Whittingham 4th now from Sproat and Wellham. Alex Reese and Dan Butcher-Lord moving forward. John Hogan's climbed back up into 7th place. But we have our 3rd lap within 40 seconds. Joe Fowler's just done a 39.99. Now, if he can find another, wait for it, 0.05 of a second, he will get pole position ultimately. That is amazing how close it is. So Fowler, Bevan, Ayres, Whittingham, Sproat, Wellham, Hogan and Reese as they come across the line again. Not a faster lap from Fowler this time. But they've got 1 minute 44 to do something about it. So the driver's still pushing hard. Fowler in front from Bevan, Ayres, Whittingham up to 3rd place now. Ayres, Wellham is 5th. Sproat is 6th. Then Hogan, Reese, Butcher-Lord and the leading the leading rookie is Josh Sheriff. Then it is Zach Bowen from James Whittaker, Lewis Wadley, Gavin Pitt, Pete Newman, Lewis Rushforth, then Amy Duke and Chris Whitten, with no sign of Theo Hesketh or Alexander Lemon. So neither of those drivers have actually set lap times as yet. And it's major problems for Chris Whitten. Pete Newman as well, who's set a lap and then come back in again. Joe Fowler still leads. Louis Bevan now on a 40.07. Very, very fast from these two. Whittingham in 3rd. Then Ayres and Sproat, Wellham and Hogan, Reese, Butcher-Lord and Gavin Pitt in the top 10 from Sheriff and Whittaker. Now, I think there's enough time for the first few karts home to do 2 more laps of this circuit, including this one. So they're going to have another opportunity or 2. Some of them are going to get unlucky in terms of where they manage to complete their lap times. So they will do the best they possibly can. But the checkered flag is not going out yet. They've got 30 seconds more of the session. So some drivers will get to start another lap. In fact, looking at it, I think pretty much everybody will. Fowler comes through and has done a 39.94. Now that has matched the pole position time from the previous session. If he can find another 100th of a second, then he will start from ultimate pole. Joe Fowler under pressure to get one more flying lap out of it that can just make an improvement. If Fowler goes that tiny bit quicker, then he will be able to get ultimate pole from the group. So Joe Fowler pushing it hard to try and get faster than was previously made in the last session. But the checkered flag is now ready. It will fly this time by as the drivers come through out of the final turn. And who's going to get that ultimate pole position? Will it be Joe Fowler? Can he get fast enough? No, he can't. Unless, of course, it's down to the 1,000th of a second and they determine that Fowler was fractionally quicker. But Fowler goes onto a 39.94. The only man from this group to duck under 40 seconds. Bevan is 2nd. Whittingham is 3rd. From Ayres, Pitt, Sproat and Wellham. No, Wellham goes 4th. Wellham goes 4th, right at the death there. Beautifully done from Rob Wellham on a 40.12. Very close indeed. So Wellham snatches P4 right at the death. Beautifully done. So it's Fowler from Bevan, Whittingham, Wellham. Then it's Ayres, Pitt, Sproat, Butcher-Lord, Reese and Hogan. Then the leading rookies, Josh Sheriff, Zach Bowen and James Whittaker. Then it's Lewis Wadley from Pete Newman, Lewis Rushforth, Amy Duke and Chris Whitten with no times at all from Theo Hesketh and Alexander Lemon. But look at that top 6. Joe Fowler, Louis Bevan, Lee Whittingham, Rob Wellham right at the end there in 4th place. 5th position for Matthew Ayres and 6th place Gavin Pitt. And they are separated by less than a quarter of a second as well. Wow, TKM Extreme is going to be good in 2018, isn't it? Absolutely superb stuff. There'll be a slight pause in proceedings, and then we will have the IAME Cadet. I apologise for getting a little bit overzealous about that one, but the IAME Cadets are going to be next out on track.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
So who's going to be pole position for the time qualifying session here at Larkhall in IAME Cadet? I've got my thinking on about 8 or 9 drivers who could take pole position in IAME Cadet. It is ridiculously close, and we've already seen some magnificently majestic battles in the IAME Cadets this year. 4 drivers are likely to dictate the way the championship itself goes down. Freddie Slater, William McIntyre, Arvid Lindblad and Max Dodds. It's between those 4 drivers, in my opinion, who's going to win the IAME Cadet Championship overall. But there is still an awful lot of stories to write just on their tail, because there's quite a few drivers in the mix here this weekend. We've obviously got the teammate to Arvid Lindblad and Maxwell Dodds. That is Brandon Carr, the very sprightly young superstar who's been very, very strong in America of late. Went out to the SKUSAs and did an absolutely cracking job abroad. We always do well abroad. We're British. We know exactly what we're playing at. Anyway, good to see him doing such a good job on the international circuit. But here in Britain, he's had a reasonably good start to the season as well. The other seeded drivers in the mix, of course, the likes of Sam Shaw and Luke Watts, have been very feisty in the early stages of the season, both at PF and Wilton Mill. They did a cracking performance, some great overtakes from the pair of them, but they are always going to look to be a thorn in the sides of the guys at ORM and Fusion, who are obviously dictating the pace of this championship. Don't count out the other man at Fusion, actually, as well. We've talked a lot already about Will McIntyre and the O-Plate Freddie Slater, but don't forget about young Oliver Wright, or Pineapple as he's known. He's getting very quick over the last couple of weekends. The pace is starting to improve. He did a cracking job in Europe as well in the early stage of the season. Got a 3rd place at Valencia in the Mini X30 brigade as well. So he knows how to handle himself, does young Oliver Wright. And Pineapple will be looking very, very strong again as well. There's a few other drivers in the mix that are worth a note. In fact, he's got probably the most obvious of the nicknames, Pineapple. You can tell because he's got it written on the back of his overalls. But there are a few other nicknames that we're coining over the course of the season. There's the Boxer, as everybody knows. It's Kai Bacchini, because that's how he decided to perform on the chroma key green screen imaging for the TV pictures. And now the nickname has well and truly stuck. Kai Bacchini, very much the Boxer of the championship. And then, of course, we've got the Gladiator, Maximus Hall, who's had a really interesting weekend here. Not always keeping it on the black stuff, but pushing absolutely to the limit, which is exactly what we expect from these guys, doing the best they possibly can. There's a few other drivers in the mix to keep an eye on as well. There's a lot of drivers up and down the grid who are definitely very, very talented. You've got the likes of Archie Clark in there for Fusion. Very, very talented racer, and has gone from the world of Bambinos to cadets with absolute gusto and determination. And he has been adamant. I know I'm a rookie. I know I'm expected to run near the back, but I will not finish last. I refuse. And it's great to see how very focused and motivated he is already. There's also Aidan Neat, also within that Fusion fold, who's been going very, very well. Harley Keeble is another one. Oh dear, we got a spin out of the pits. That is the 10. Very easy to do as you're trying to warm up the brakes and tyres. That's Luke Watts, just losing the back end, but he will get it up to speed, no problem at all, once he's got the car going again. Very easy to do out of the pits, to be fair. Let's not forget that these guys are cadet drivers, and they're always trying to push on the circuit and get the maximum out of the machinery. There's a few others worth a look as well. There's my good mate MJ Kanini, who's out there as well. Kanini, a very, very talented young racer from South Africa, who's come over here to America, to Great Britain. Where am I? To Great Britain, and done an absolutely fantastic job. And he is putting in some great performances. Had a narrow escape at Wilton Mill last time when he went into the barriers at the heel of the boot, and was very, very fortunate to walk away from that one. He won't want any more incidents like that one, thank you very much, as the drivers now start their flying laps. We'll need to keep an eye on one of the top rookies this year as well. Charlie Rippon has been getting on with things very, very quickly. And Ella Stevens is another rookie to keep an eye on as well, the reigning Birrell Cadet UK champion. And has got into every single weekend so far with sheer professionalism, absolute motivation and determination, and it's great to see how well she is progressing. A lot of support, of course, from the former Formula One aspirant, Alice Powell. I always felt that with a little bit more backing and sponsorship she'd have got there. They're probably the most likely to have got to Formula One from the female contingent in the last 10 years, but she's very happy pushing Ella Stevens to try and take that mantle. And the way she's going, it wouldn't surprise me if she made it. Continuing on, they continue to push in the first flying lap, the first one on the top of the table. It's so close, and it is those four at the very top as we expected. Slater and McIntyre and Dodds and Lindblad up in the top four on the first flying lap. Well, they do say, don't they, that cream rises to the top, and those four who we've been saying will be battling for this year's championship, Slater and McIntyre, Dodds and Lindblad, they are the top four at the moment in that order. Then it's Harry Junior Burgoyne, the local man in 5th position. Ashton Hodgson is 6th from Luke Watts, Leah Robertson, Sam Shaw and Harley Keeble. Then it's Max Barrow from Luke Sintler. Ella Stevens right up in 13th. Great run from her. Charlie Rippin, Maximus Hall, Aidan Neat, Vinnie Phillips, MJ Canini, Ian Aguilera, then Oliver Wright, Archie Clark, Bart Harrison, Brandon Carr, and the new recruit from the Philippines is here, William Go, who has been doing a grand job for Pierce Sexton Racing, and he's been getting faster and faster as the weekend progresses. He's only been in the country for 2 months, and he's doing a grand job. So more speed and more pace to come from the drivers at the end of the second flying lap. It's now Maxwell Dodds who's at the top of the table from McIntyre, Freddie Slater, Sam Shaw, Luke Watts, Harry Junior Burgoyne, then Ashton Hodgson, Oliver Wright, Bart Harrison and Brandon Carr, Luke Sintler and Aidan Neat. Arvid Lindblad did a purple in the first sector that time by, so I would not be too surprised to see Lindblad going straight back up the order. He's down to 16th at the moment, but he will not stay there. So the drivers come through. Lindblad on the tail of his teammate Maxwell Dodds as they decide to work together. And this time, look at that, Lindblad straight up to the top. That's what they were doing. They were cooperating with each other to move forward. Lindblad leads, Slater second from McIntyre. Sam Shaw of the Strawberry Racing team's in 4th. And then it's Maxwell Dodds in 5th. 6th is Vinnie Phillips now. Vinnie Phillips is the other man at Fusion to keep an eye on this year. He's done an absolutely amazing job in the first couple of weekends of the season. And Vinnie Phillips is now right up there in P6. Then it's Harry Junior Burgoyne. Aidan Neat is back into the top 10. That's where he belongs. Luke Watts in 9th and Brandon Carr in 10th place. Then it's Charlie Rippin, Harley Keeble, Maximus Hall, Ella Stevens, Ashton Hodgson, Leo Robinson, Oliver Wright and Ian Aguilera. Great battles, great racing, and absolutely incredible talent. It's everywhere you look in this grid, and the top 15 karts are covered by less than a second. Lindblad remains top, goes slightly quicker. Slater beats him though. Slater on a 45.59, 0.06 of a second faster than Lindblad. Then we have McIntyre, Dodge, Shaw, Phillips, Burgoyne, Robinson, Hall and Brandon Carr in there in the top 10. Aidan Neat has just been edged outside the top 10 for the moment, but he'll get his way back. Watts in 12th, then Ashton Hodgson. We've got a warning flag at the moment for the 90. Now that's Jack Younger. What's he done? I'm guessing that's going to be for track limits. So we're obviously pushing it just a little bit over the apron as the drivers continue to settle into a position. Will McIntyre just moving his way past Leah Robinson to gain track position. Leah Robinson, by the way, is the leading rookie and doing a cracking job within that top 10. In 8th place at the moment, the Oliver Rowland Motorsport drivers making their way out of the final turn together as they work for their way forward. Lindblad and Dodds now up to 1st and 3rd. Slater goes slightly quicker, a 45.45 from Freddie Slater. Really exciting stuff as they continue to battle. 0.07 of a second back is Lindblad. Then it's Dodds, McIntyre. Ashton Hodgson, the leading privateer, has come up to P5. Great work from Hodgson. Then it is Neat. Well, I told you he'd get back into the top 10. He's got into the top 6. Then it's Vinnie Phillips, Harry Junior Burgoyne, Sam Shaw and Leah Robinson in the top 10. Then it's Max Hall from Brandon Carr. Then Keeble, Harrison, Watts, Rippin, Clark, Wright, Barrow and Canini. Ella Stevens still there in 21st. Then it's Aguilera, Younger, O'Grady, Sindler and William Go. Fantastic battles up and down the field as we've got 30 seconds to go. This is going to be their last qualifying lap. Dodds and Lindblad very closely matched on a 45.5 each, but it's 45.51 for Dodds, 45.52 for Lindblad. Slater still your leader. Aidan Neat comes up to 4th with assistance from Vinnie Phillips. They're going absolutely beautifully. 4th and 5th for Neat and Phillips. McIntyre demoted to 6th. Then it's Carr, Hodgson, Burgoyne and Shaw. Well, this is great work for the very talented Aidan Neat, who's been getting faster and faster every time he comes out to play, and he's done an absolutely corking good job in time qualifying. He's really risen to the occasion with a little bit of cooperation from Vinnie Phillips, but this is going to be when the checkered flag flies. How fast have the Oliver Rowland Motorsport drivers been able to go as they come out of the final turn? Is it good enough for pole? It's not, but Lindblad just displaces his teammate, a 45.48, and then Dodds in 3rd position. I don't think the leaders are going to be beaten. Aidan Neat will come through with Vinnie Phillips. Are they going to move further forward? Great battles from them. I think the top 6 remain the same. So Slater, Lindblad, Dodds, Neat, Phillips and McIntyre is your top 6. Then it's Harry Jr. Burgoyne up in 7th place. Local knowledge counting for him then. Brandon Carr is the leading rookie in 8th place. Then it is Charlie Rippon and Leo Robinson. Harley Keeble is there in 11th position. The leading privateer is Ashton Hodgson in 12th. Sam Shaw in the Strawberry Racing card is 13th from Luke Watts. Then it's Ian Aguilera, Maximus Hall, Ella Stevens back into the top 20 in 17th place. Good last lap from her. Bart Harrison is 18th from Archie Clark and Oliver Wright. 3 of the fusion carts, with Bart Harrison in there as well. So Harrison, Clark and Wright, 18th, 19th and 20th. Then Max Barrow, MJ Canini, Luke Sindler, Alex O'Grady, Jack Younger and William Go. The Filipino is there in 26th position. Terrific stuff. Absolutely amazing start to proceedings then from the IAME Cadets. But Freddie Slater, the O-plate, is 0.03 of a second quicker than Arvid Lindblad. That's less time than it takes to blink an eye. And you've got to cover 23 karts to get a second out of the timing sheets. Absolutely amazing. 1 second, well less than that actually, covers the top 23 karts in IAME Cadets. That's how tight it is around here. That's how quick the lap is, but it's also how talented the driving styles are around here. Absolutely amazing to see that much talent that closely matched here in IAME Cadet. That's the time qualifying over for them. Next out on track is going to be the Junior TKM.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
So the attention and the focus now shifts from IAME Cadet to Junior TKM, and this is going to be one heck of a season for the Junior TKMs. A lot of stories have already been written about who is going to be at the top end of the championship in one of the most exciting junior classes in the world, never mind here in Great Britain. But this is going to be one heck of a battle. For the Junior TKM Championship, the reigning champion, Abby Pulling, is back to defend her crown that was so brilliantly won last year. And it will be a very interesting battle to see how well Abby Pulling can go from the front of the field. But her battle is going to be a tough one. There are so many drivers who can take this away from her in 2018. The seeded drivers, Zach Taylor and Dan Butterworth, are obviously going to be her closest opposition on paper, and they will run very well indeed. Then we have the likes of Spencer Stevenson, the new Talco driver a rookie this year alongside Abby Pulling. Then we have the likes of Archie Strong. Harry Yardley Rose will be an interesting factor, the young man from Malvern. Then we have Oliver Richardson from Bury St Edmunds. The others in the field, obviously, to keep an eye on are the likes of Ethan Newsham and William Orton. They'll be very strong right from the off. Max Davies, Jensen Davis, Zach Oates, Joe Harrison. The other female in the field, Morgan Kidd. And then we have Aston Wigley, Liam Hurrell. Connor Kearney should be an interesting one, the young man from Oxford. Louis Harvey, Dan McKeown, and then 2 more of the rookies, Dominic Kilmister and Ben Watson. So there's a great field in Junior TKM in 2018, full of solid talent. Great racing is set to come from this class. But can anybody take the title away from Abby Pulling? It's very, very hard to talk about her as not being in contention for the championship. It's unlikely that she will be off form, having just done the first 2 meetings in the Ginetta Junior Championship paddock on the Toka bill. It's great to see her coming back to defend her crown despite doing that. And it's proof that to her, karting is still very, very important. There are too many drivers, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a few others, who ditch karting as soon as is humanly possible and jump straight into cars and then hope it all just works out for the best. You need to keep your foot in with karting. It's a very important discipline to maintain, and you can always learn something. Just look at the likes of Ben Barnacote and Dean McDonald, who are still here around the paddock, helping out other drivers and occasionally racing as well. So great to see them still keeping their foot into the world of karting. It's very important. You can always learn from being out in the karts. Never, ever get away from it. So the drivers will head out onto the circuit for their qualifying session, and it's going to be an interesting one because we are still not entirely sure who's going to get pole position. The pace is very, very close with the top 5 or 6 drivers in the field, and it will all come down to who's got the better preparation and the better setup for these very hot conditions. The track temperature really, really sweltering at the moment. I was watching quite a few of the karts coming in off their time practice sessions, and the tyres were basically melting as they came back in off the circuit. So really interesting to see who's got the best setup and who's dialed in the kart correctly as the drivers get themselves ready for action. Interesting as well to see a lot of the drivers in the TKM Senior Brigade wanting to come over and have a look at what's going on in the TKM Juniors as well, because you never know, there could be some data to learn from watching this session as well. They'll get a bit of an idea as to what the circuit is doing. Obviously the track will have changed slightly in terms of conditions from what we saw a little bit earlier on. So there's going to be some very interesting battles as the qualifying session is about to get underway. By the way, if anybody around has seen a silver microphone which has the word blue on it and a pair of black headphones that are sort of the wraparound job that the DJs use, could you please return it either to race control or take it to the CAF and leave them there? That would be very much appreciated. Yes, I know, the idiot fat commentator lost them last night. He doesn't know where they are, but if you could either bring them to race control or to the CAF, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you very much indeed. And I will stop sounding like an absolute idiot. I will continue on with the world of karting as the timed qualifying session for Junior TKM is about to get underway. And all eyes turn to the number 1. Abby Pulling from Spalding is going to go out and try to defend her crown in this first weekend of the 2018 Junior TKM season. The season starts here for the TKM Brigade at junior level, ages 11 to 16 in this class. And it is still an incredible competition. TKM has been one of the top classes in karting over the course of the last 20 years. And it's great to see so many people have made their way through into the upper echelons of motorsport from it. So many great drivers expected to do a fantastic job over the course of the next few weekends. Just to give you an idea of the sort of the talent that has come through in these championships over the last few years, a lot of them have come from Junior TKM, and there's been an amazing crop of racing drivers. We keep banging on about this, or at least I keep banging on about it, how many drivers have come through to the top level of motor racing based on having started in the paddock here at Super One. The driving standard is absolutely incredible, and we've seen just in the last few years some brilliant drivers come through these classes and go on to great things. But in terms of the roll of honour for Junior TKM the last few years, all of the drivers are hoping to join the likes of Aaron Mills, Matthew Graham, Bradley White and Abby Pulling, the last 4 champions in Junior TKM. Abby Pulling, of course, is back to retain her crown. For everybody else, the mission and the season starts here. Drivers head out onto the circuit then and get their karts up to speed as the Junior TKM season begins in earnest, and the drivers will go into their 6 minutes of time qualifying session in the hope that they will emerge as the fastest of all. Dan Butterworth on the gold kart with the beautiful blue and yellow colour scheme heads out onto the circuit in the hope that as the leading privateer in the mix, being the only seeded privateer in this 2018 season opener, in the hope that he can continue on and move his way around the circuit. The last man to head out onto the circuit is the 46, one of the rookies, Joe Harrison. So we'll see how well he goes in this first qualifying session of the 2018 season. Into the final turn and to start their first flying lap. This lap will not be representative of the fastest times, but it will give us an indication as to who is well prepared. For the record, as the drivers come through at the end of their first rolling lap out of the pits, it is Dan McKeown who is currently at the top of the table, just for the record, but the lap times are not indicative of where they will actually run, because we've still got to knock a good 6 seconds or so off those outlaps to see who is going to be at the sharp end of the field. And drivers are already starting to find a flying lap or two and a few choice moves to gain track position as well. And Abby Pudding's got herself into a tiny bit of clean air. It would not surprise me if she emerges as the fastest at the end of this first flying lap. We'll see how things go, but there's some great battles through the fields. We'll see who goes well. Up to the top goes Abby Pulling, although Louis Harvey's gone quicker. Morgan Kidd goes fastest of all. Morgan Kidd has gone to the very top in the first flying lap, a 41.65. Here come the girls. They're first, well, they were first. Second and fourth is actually the aim of the game at the moment. Morgan Kidd is in second, pulling his fourth because Dan Butterworth, the privateer, has gone fastest of all. So Dan Butterworth at the top from Morgan Kidd. There's a surprise. The rookie in second place. Louis Harvey third from Abby Pulling, then Will Orton. Dominic Kilmister, another of the rookies, doing a very good job there in sixth place. Ben Watson likewise in seventh. Then it's Zach Oates in eighth position. Dan McKeown and Spencer Stevenson, another of the rookies on the Talco racing team. Here they come again a second time, and the order shuffles completely. Butterworth is still top from Orton. Up to second place now. Then it's Morgan Kidd in third position. Again going very fast here. Dominic Kilmister, Ben Watson. Up to first of all goes Oliver Richardson. Richardson goes fastest. So Oliver Richardson, the leading privateer and the leading rookie, fastest of all. Then it's Butterworth. Aston Wigley going well in the Jade Racing team. Then it's Will Orton, Morgan Kidd, Dominic Kilmister, Ben Watson, Zach Oates, Zach Taylor and Dan McKeown, with Abby Pulling all the way down in 14th behind Harvey, Newsham and Davis. Harry Yardley-Rose goes 14th now, so that's down to 15th. Then it's Max Davies, Spencer Stevenson, Kearney, Strong, Hurrell and Harrison. Here we go again. The times continue to tumble as drivers get a decent lap in the board. Spencer Stevenson goes second fastest. This is going to change the form book slightly. We've got 3 rookies in the top 4, and Oliver Richardson is fastest of all. Make that 3 rookies in the top 5 now, because we've got Butterworth in second, Wigley in third, then it's Spencer Stevenson and Ben Watson in the top 5. Then we have Newsham, McKeown, Kilmister, Orton and Morgan Kidd in 10th position. Then it's Zach Oates, Zach Taylor, Abby Pulling is 13th. Then it's Archie Strong, Louis Harvey, Jensen Davis. Up to 9th goes Harry Yardley-Rose now, the privateer. So he's on for a good run here. And we go round again. Dan McKeown up to third initially. Abby Pulling much faster. That's second fastest of all now, Pulling on a 40.53. Dan Butterworth goes fastest of all on a 40.38. That's 1/100th of a second behind Richardson. Richardson matches his time. Goodness me. Richardson gets the pole position by virtue of the fact that he was fastest of all in the third sector, I think it was. So very close, but Richardson and Butterworth dead level to the 100th of a second. Then it's Pulling in third. Wigley, Taylor, Oates, McKeown, Stevenson, Newsham, Kearney, Orton and Morgan Kidd. Really good battle around this circuit. Less than a second covers 19 of the 21 karts here at Larkhall in this class. And Abby Pulling remains in the top 3, but does not improve on her best time that time by. Butterworth goes fastest of all. Stevenson goes second of all. 40.26 compared to Stevenson on a 40.31. Richardson does a 40.32. And Abby Pulling is fourth ahead of Wigley, Orton, Morgan Kidd back up to 7th place now from Zach Oates and Zach Taylor, the 2 precision racing karts going well. And then Louis Harvey in 10th position. The battle on the circuit is just as close as the battle on the lap charts at the moment, as they're all shuffling for position, trying to gain some good positions on the track. And we're running short of time as well. We've got a minute to go, which for my money is 2 more qualifying laps on the flying lap. So they will get 8 flying laps in total, which is not bad from 6 minutes. Spencer Stevenson goes fastest of all on a 40.26, about the same as Dan Butterworth. So it's Stevenson, the leading rookie, who is fastest of all. Then it's Butterworth, Richardson, Pulling, Wigley, Orton, Kidd, Oates and Taylor, the 2 precision karts. And then it is in 10th place Watson now from Davies, Harvey, McKeown, Hurrell, Newsham, Kearney, Davis, Strong, Kilmister, Harry Yardley-Rose and Joe Harrison. So we've got 1 more flying lap after this one, as the drivers will battle away for position. The spectators absolutely partisan down the home straight as they wait to see who is going to be fastest in the junior TKMs. A lot more positions changing. Louis Harvey comes up into the top 6 now. A great shoot up from Ben Watson. Watson's up to 4th. Great run from Ben Watson. So Stevenson, Butterworth, Richardson, Watson, Pulling, Wigley, Harvey, Zach Oates, Will Orton and Morgan Kidd. And then we have the checkered flag set to come out this time by. So we're out of time. And who is that out of the final turn with no luck at all? That is the 63 of Liam Hurrell, who will remain, sadly, down in 15th position at very best. So the drivers now going to finish off their time qualifying session with this lap. Hopefully they'll all have got a clean lap. Not everybody will have done, though. So let's see who will get pole position. Will it be Spencer Stevenson across the line? Pulling goes up to 3rd. So a good final lap there from Pulling, but not on the front row for the first race of the season. But there's 1/100th of a second between the top 3. Amazing. Richardson comes across the line this time, the 23. Will it be fastest of all? No, it won't. But how about this? The top 5 karts separated by less than 1/10 of a second. Absolutely amazing. Stevenson, Butterworth, Pulling, Richardson and Watson. Less than a tenth of a second between the top 5. Astonishing. Kearney is 6th. From Aston Wigley, Louis Harvey, Zach Oates in 9th and Will Orton in 10th position. And there's 0.4 of a second covering the top 10. Morgan Kidd is in that mix as well in 11th place. Then it is Max Davies from Zach Taylor, Dan McKeown, Ethan Newsham, Liam Hurrell, Jensen Davis, Joe Harrison, Archie Strong, Dominic Kilmister and Harry Yardley Rose. 1.01 seconds covering the front to the back. That is Junior TKM. Absolutely amazing pace. And that is really quite astonishing to see just how close it is in each of these classes. They've worked very, very hard over the course of the first few sessions. But here in the qualifying session, we get to see an amazing run. And there's less than there's 100th of a second between those 3 karts. Truly spectacular. Absolutely terrific stuff. And great to see how close the qualifying pace is in Junior TKM. We only have 2 qualifying sessions left before our lunch break here at Larkhall. The first of those coming up very shortly is Junior X30. Bring the noise.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
With Junior X30 about to come out onto the circuit once again here at Larkhall, this time for the timed qualifying session, we should see another exciting battle for this 2018 campaign. It's been really exciting in Junior X30 this season. We've had some truly spectacular runs, and we're going to get to see an amazing run of it again here, because the championship battle really is fever pitch at the moment, with a lot of people talking about 2 drivers who've been battling it out for the last couple of rounds. Dragon Pinsent and Clayton Ravenscroft. That's where the headlines have been made in the early point of the season, with Dragon Pinsent giving Clayton Ravenscroft a great run for his money at Wilton Mill. Sadly getting that penalty at the last move on the boot, but Dragon Pinsent is not phased. He has come back fighting, and he will try and get that victory dais back again. And it's great to see just how hard the young man from Amersham is working to get himself back on the top step. But how many more compliments can we come up with for the man from Hedge End, Clayton Ravenscroft? He's been really strong in the first half of the season. I've already made several comparisons to a young Nigel Mansell with this kid, and I have a feeling that there's going to be plenty more people who will share my opinion. There is an amazing crop of talent from this lad, but there are still very, very many drivers in this field who could be even faster, and that's something that we'll need to keep an eye on. Because in the X30 class, there are several drivers here this weekend who could be particularly special. We've got Alessandro Serenetti, the English champion, who's always been feisty, but he needs to get his composure together over the course of one weekend. This looks like it could be the weekend, though. He's definitely starting to hit a few more of those brilliant apexes and working hard around the circuit from Stratford-upon-Avon. Alessandro Serenetti going very well indeed this weekend. But then we've got a few drivers who have swapped teams and moved on to a different position. Reggie Dewey is an interesting one. He's had a difficult weekend thus far, the number 3 for Cato Motorsport, having made the switch of team for this meeting. He had a bit of an accident yesterday. I say a bit of an accident. It was quite a nasty one, and he ended up damaging his wrist in that moment. But fortunately for him, he is okay. The kart is now basically on the way back, as it were. So he's trying to fight to get a decent setup out of the car as the rest of the meeting progresses. This qualifying session should be very telling. But there's a lot of drivers who could be on the ball for this one, particularly the local man, Lewis Gilbert, who is going to be a very strong talent here this weekend. He and Clayton Ravenscroft have been running around the circuit in tandem for most of the practice sessions, and they've been assisting each other, collate lots of data, and going faster and faster. It's great to see, actually, Clayton Ravenscroft and Lewis Gilbert working very well together as a team unit. They get on, they like each other, they think alike, and their racing is going to be pretty epic this weekend, if anything is to go by. But they aren't the only ones in the mix. You've only got to look at Josh Rattican, a very talented superstar. Josh Rattican, having represented Great Britain in the CIK FIA Academy last week at Salbris, and boy, oh boy, was he on it there. Really good to see him fighting in the top 6, and great to see that his prowess is never far away from the top step of the podium. Rattican this weekend could be mighty, mighty strong, and I have a feeling that this is one that we could see him clinch the whole thing. Alex Lloyd, of course, is definitely one who's going to be fighting hard. He's had the most bad luck in one start to a British season campaign that I think I've ever seen for someone so highly rated. This has got to be where his season starts effectively in the British Championships. But the comfort he draws from it is that, okay, it's hard in the British Championship, but that's what makes this the best possible proving ground. It's a tough championship, the British Championship, the toughest in the world. And that's why when he goes across to Europe, he's always in the top 3, because you work hard, you fight with gusto in the British Championship, then you can go on to the European Championships and prove that the British really are the best. We know how to do this, and we know how to be winning racing drivers right from the front. That's not really all there is to it, though, because we've got other great drivers in this field. You've only got to take a look at the likes of Douglas Bolger and Tom Edgar in the mix for Fusion. Rufus Hunt for Fusion as well. Rufus is one of those drivers who never gives up. He's feisty, he's determined, and he's brutal in the apexes. He's always good at pulling off that extra bit of gusto from the overtaking moves. He's got very, very good over the last couple of meetings of really rising to the top, and it'll be great to see what he can do here this weekend. Lots of drivers in the mix as well. We've only got to look through the list of the rest of the contenders. There's going to be some great ones. Axel Laflamme is obviously very quick. Theo Edgerton, Teddy Pritchard-Williams, Oliver Gray, Max Meir, Lewis Thompson, Oliver Behrman, Nelson King, Louis Short, Alex Lay, Joseph Taylor, Casper Stevenson's been very strong in the early part of the season. Luke Whitehead, of course, one of the local men and a seeded driver for this year as well, the number 7 plate. Not the greatest of starts for Luke White thus far, but Luke Whitehead has a great opportunity to move his way further forward. A lot of people running to the side of the circuit to get a good vantage point for this one, because this is going to be a very close battle. We wait for the green flag to fly on the edge of the pit lane. It will do so in a couple of minutes' time, and then we'll get ourselves underway for the Junior X30 qualifying session. And for my money, again, there's about a dozen drivers who could get pole position. That's how tough it is. But great to see so many incredible teams and so many incredible drivers in them gunning for glory in the Junior X30 brigade. Tough to call and very, very tough to read who is going to have the best possible setup going into this qualifying session. Everybody seems to think they've got a decent handle on it, but the teams from KR Sport, from Coles, from Fusion, from Litchfield, from Pierce Sexton Racing, and all of the others, of course, in the brigade as well. It'll be really great to see how well they go in this first timed qualifying session for them over the course of the weekend. Great to see all of the battles and all of the way that these drivers have been progressing through the practice session. It's really, really good to see how closely they've been matched as well. Through each of the sessions, 2 or 3 drivers have been near the front, and then we've got to see a couple more drivers step up to the top 6 and really get their A game on. But this is the time qualifying session. No second chances now. 6 minutes will go on the clock, and they'll have about 8 flying laps, the most 8 important flying laps of their weekend, to put themselves in the frame to move their way forward. After that point, anybody who's in the top 6 is looking okay. Anybody outside the top 6 has got more work to do. Back in the awning and back on the circuit through the heats. They've got to work hard, but that's where the great battles in Junior X30 come from, and we're hoping to see a lot of them over the course of the next 5 sessions in Junior X30. From the time qualifying, the 2 heats and the 2 finals, this is going to be absolutely amazing to see what these guys can actually do. And a wonderful field we've got this year. Possibly, pound for pound, the best Junior X30 grid that we have ever had in Super 1. Let's go qualifying. So the field swarms out of the pits once again as they get themselves up to speed, looking for good track position, looking for good heat in the tyres, good heat in the brakes. They want to be absolutely on their A game from the off here. And as the drivers all fly out onto the circuit, we are ready for battle as they move out into not uncharted territory, but certainly into the unknown. The hottest part of the day. It would coincide with qualifying. Whoever's got the best of the draw is going to have a great run. And out on his own at the front, Clayton Ravenscroft, hoping to keep it that way through the course of the weekend, but he's got to do it on the timesheets as well. But there are so many drivers looking for a good weekend here at Larkhall, the West of Scotland Kart Club. And the first lap is completed, but this one is not the one representative of a good time lap. Now they're going into that first qualifying lap as the drivers push on for a great run. Now, the big question is, who's going to get to the top of the table first and who's going to have good progress? For the record, as the drivers come through at the end of their first lap around the circuit, it's not going to be very representative of the full qualifying times, of course, but just for the record, the fastest laps around the circuit have currently been set by Luke Whitehead and Josh Rattigan. They are the fastest around the circuit at present. However, there is a lot more time to find, and they will find it. Clayton Ravenscroft goes fastest of all on the first flying lap, a 39.79. So already we're getting up to the front end of the field as Joe Taylor goes second. Oliver Behrman goes, I was going to say third, and then it changed again. We have a new fastest time, and it's Nelson King. Nelson King has just pipped Ravenscroft. Now we've got more coming through, and a lot more fast times coming through. Who's gone fastest of all? My timing screen is about to shuffle back into position again. It's Axel Laflamme. Axel Laflamme's done a 39.68 from Teddy Pritchard Williams, Lewis Gilbert, Reggie Dewey in 4th place. He's back to his best in the Cato Motorsport kart. Dragon Pinson in 5th, Josh Radican in 6th. Then it's King, Ravenscroft, Walker and Chironetti. Ravenscroft goes fastest of all now on a 39.09. So the benchmark initially set, but now he's getting on with it. Ravenscroft, Reed, Gray, Edgerton, Hudson. Up to 3rd comes Chironetti. Up to the top goes King and Whitehead. So Nelson King and Luke Whitehead have gone straight to the top end of the dais. Very close battles here in the mix as Nelson King leads from Luke Whitehead, Clayton Ravenscroft, Reggie Dewey in P4, then Lewis Gilbert, Tyler Reed, Alessandro Chironetti, Gray, Edgerton, Dragon Pinson in the top 10. Then it's Hudson, Heading, Thompson, Taylor, Hawthorne, Ratican. Then it's White, Walker, Behrman and Alex Lay ahead of Alex Lloyd. Then Stevenson and Pritchard Williams. Axel Laflamme was fastest, now he's down in 24th. Ravenscroft goes fastest again on a 38.79. Thompson now to 2nd, Edgar 3rd, then Gray. And still they shuffle the deck as the drivers come through, switching positions like crazy. But out in front, it is still a very tight battle. As at the top of the dais at the moment, it's Ravenscroft from Reggie Dewey, who's matched him for pace. So down to the 100th of a second, Ravenscroft and Dewey have the same time. Then it's Thompson, Laflamme, Gilbert, King, Whitehead, Radican, Edgar and Gray. Joe Taylor's in 11th, and it's Dragon Pinson from Pritchard Williams, Heading, Walker, Hunt, Cooper, Reed and Chironetti. Really close battles as again the top 20 karts are separated by less than 0.3 of a second. So close here at Larkhall. And still the battle is joined, still the battle is raging, and still we don't really know who's going to get on ultimate pole position. Nelson King goes back to the top, Chironetti goes 2nd, Williams goes 3rd, Pritchard Williams goes 3rd place, then Clayton Ravenscroft from Reggie Dewey, Lewis Thompson and Axel Laflamme. Amazing, we've got an incredible draw of drivers. Oh my goodness, a big shot out of the far side there, and drivers going all over the place. But that was a couple of drivers in rhythm, and the 54 of Theo Edgerton, his kart is broken. So that's the front end of his kart absolutely destroyed, and Theo Edgerton's chances in qualifying come to an end. And who is it that went up and over? That looked to me like one of the Fusion karts going up and over. I'll double check, but we certainly had a kart up in the air, very nearly an end-over-end accident, that one, out of the right-hander back into the complex near the pits. But, my goodness, that was a bit of a nasty one. So, Tom Edgar, I think it was, the 52 going up in the air. And I'm trying to see who else that is in the mix. So, Tom Edgar, the 52, went up and over. And, well, Alex Lay hasn't completed as many laps as the others. I'm trying to see who else was involved in that one. But a bit of a shock. It's one of the drivers with a Tony Kart suit. That doesn't necessarily tell us who it was in the kart. I think that one might have been Oliver Behrman, actually. Oliver Behrman in the 87 involved in that one. So Edgerton and Behrman, unfortunately, their sessions come to an end. And I think Tom Edgar likewise, who have all picked up some major damage from that one. Well, Edgar's actually carried on thinking about it. So those two, though, Edgerton and Oliver Behrman, sadly out of the race. But the checkered flag, or out of the session, I should say. But the checkered flag is being prepared for the next time around because we've got 45 seconds left on the dais. Interesting how I was going to say before that all kicked off with the session, we've got so many drivers out there in the queue, as it were, helping each other forward. Not Ravenscroft. Ravenscroft's on his own, just banging in laps and hoping that it's going to be enough to put him at the front end. And Ravenscroft currently in the top 6. But Nelson King is leading from Lewis Thompson, Teddy Pritchard Williams. Lewis Gilbert goes fastest. Lewis Gilbert goes to the top then. So the local man for KR Sport has gone first of all, and it's going to be really exciting from here on in. So drivers battling away, but Gilbert is fastest from Nelson King, Lewis Thompson, Teddy Pritchard Williams, Caden McQueen and Alessandro Chironetti. Now Ravenscroft's going to get one more lap. That's interesting. So Ravenscroft will get one more as Thompson crosses the line and will remain at least 3rd. So Ravenscroft is going to need one more perfect lap, but he's 0.07 of a second off the top of the table. This is amazing. 1/10 of a second covers the top 10. That is amazing. So who's going to get the ultimate pole position when it's so close in Junior X30? Who's going to get to the top? Let's find out as they come through. A lot of them have, of course. The only one who hasn't is Ravenscroft. If it stays like this, it's Gilbert from King, Serenetti, Thompson, Pritchard, Williams, McQueen and Rattigan. But can Ravenscroft go faster than them all? He's only got to find 800ths of a second. No, 8th place. So 9th is Axel Laflamme, 10th is Reggie Dewey. Then it's Tyler Reid. Luke Whitehead, Matthew Hudson, Tom Edgar, Casper Stevenson, Douglas Bolger, Louis Short, Sam Heading, Dragon Pinson and Alex Walker. And they are all separated, those top 20, by less than a quarter of a second. That is spectacular. Absolutely astonishing form from the Junior X30s. In 21st is Oliver Gray. Then it's Joe Taylor from Alex Lloyd. Rufus Hunt, Oliver Behrman, Dylan Cooper in 26th position. Then we look a little bit further down the dais. And we find out of the top 26 carts, there are 6 more in progression. They are Shane White, Theo Edgerton, Alex Moody, Sam Hawthorne, Max Mear and Alex Lay. So that is the 6 further back. Real problems, though, for Oliver Behrman and Theo Edgerton, getting caught in that incident in the right-hander just on the way to the complex by the pit lane. And that compromises their weekend, but it's not game over. They'll have a bit of fighting to do over the course of the rest of the meeting, but they will try and charge their way forward. But how about that? 20 carts separated by less than a quarter of a second, and the top 10 separated by less than a 10th of a second. I can't believe it. That is Junior X30 in absolutely incredible fashion, displaying just how close the talent is in British motor racing right now. Because we've got 20 drivers that you can sweep a blanket over a quarter of a second. Can I just point out, a quarter of a second is about the time it takes to blink one eye. That is absolutely incredible. So I don't know what to say about that other than how already we've reiterated just how astonishing that sort of pace is from the 20 drivers at the front of Junior X30, and there are 32 of them in the mix, 20 of them covered by less than a quarter of a second. The whole field covered by less than a second. My goodness. Junior X30 in 2018 is absolutely on it, and if you thought they were good, the Senior X30 are up next, and they will claim that they're even better. So let's see who's right.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Senior X30 up next, and of course it's very close in that championship as it has been in the Junior X30 as well, but they're going to have to work hard to better what we've just seen. The top 10 separated by less than a 10th of a second, the top 20 separated by less than a quarter of a second, the entire field separated by less than a second. Absolutely phenomenal. And now we go into the Senior X30 to go into what we know is already going to be a very close battle. The likes of Oliver Hodgson, Thomas Turner, Elliot Harvey, Levi King and Brad Pennell all battling for this championship in 2018. We'll see some amazing runs from these guys over the course of the next few minutes. But Hodgson, Turner, Harvey, King and Pennell, they are our seeded drivers for the 2018 season, and they are here all gunning for victory and pushing on as much as they possibly can with some incredible talent behind them as well. And we've seen some very close times from the drivers in amongst it, with a few other drivers as well hoping to put in some strong performances as the season progresses. But here at this weekend at Larkhall, we'll have some very talented drivers gunning for the victory. Joe Turney, of course, is going to be one we need to keep an eye on. He's been very strong in the first part of the season, and there'll be some really exciting battles with him. Owen Byatt needs to get his season back on track. By his standards, he's not had the best of starts, but Owen Byatt is always going to be a driver who will fight in the top 6 if he gets a good setup underneath him. Here today at Larkhall, he should have everything he needs to do to get the job done, but it will be hard work, and he knows it. There's also the likes of Rory Hudson, Morgan Porter, Saul Robinson, all very much in the mix and hoping to have another great battle out there as well. There's also that threat of hoping to become the top rookie, the likes of Scott Jackson, Sky Siddle and Cole Kilner, all fighting for the right to be called the top rookie at the end of the season. And they will work very hard to do that, of course, because it's always going to be very, very close with the drivers in the mix. And you've got the likes of Jensen Brown, Luke Hughes, Ewan Wilson pushing hard, Jake Douglas, Paul Stewart. They're all going to be in the mix as well. So again, in Senior X30, we're going to have a really exciting battle this season. as the drivers will want to put straight into the top of the league. But so far, Oliver Hodgson has been the star turn, runner-up last year, winner at PF International, and did so well at Wilton Mill as well. So he's hoping that things just continue as was here at Larkhall. But it's not as straightforward as that. You've got to keep it going all the way through the season, and you've got to make sure that your kart is still right at the top when everything stops at the end of the race and that checkered flag falls. 6 more minutes will go onto the clock here, as the drivers will head out onto the circuit for the Senior X30 time qualifying session in a little under 3 minutes time, with some great racing to come over the course of the season. We're here at the beautiful sunny Larkhall. To those of you who are here trackside, well done. You've chosen the right weekend to come out in the sunshine. Hopefully you won't all be bright orange or bright red by the time we go home tomorrow. Although I have a feeling, looking at some of you, you might have already got there. Also, we've got some drivers hoping to be on this grid, of course, at Super 1, listening around the world. And the fans and families and uncles and aunts and granddads and grandmas are listening in as well, wherever you are, via Downforce UK. Great to have you with us all over the internet around. Anybody wanting to listen into the coverage as it happens, of course, who are here at the circuit, all you really need to do is head to the Downforce UK Facebook page. The live links are there. Either that or you can download Spreaker to your smartphone. It's a free app, Spreaker. Basically just download that, and in the search bar just search for Super 1 Series. Simple as that, and you'll be able to listen to the coverage live as it happens here at Larkhall, and of course back at PF International. If you want to relive some past glories, you can listen to all of the coverage from there as well. We're here over the course of the season. Only a few rounds we're missing in 2018, but we'll be there for the majority of the British Championships here at the Two-Toe Money Super 1 British Karting Championships. But here at Larkhall, it's all go over the course of the season for those who are locals and want to continue racing on this fantastic Summerlee raceway for the West of Scotland Karting Club. The next local race date is on Sunday the 3rd of June. And there are more battles, of course, through the course of the year, as the drivers will want to continue racing on this fantastic circuit. The 17th of June is round 5 of the Club Championship and the Scottish Super Series. The 15th of July is when we have the Summerlee Open, as well as the 6th round of the Club Championships. And then we have round 7 of that WSKC Championship on the 19th of August. On the 16th of September, that's a big one, because that's the Lee Jameson Trophy and the Alan Brown Memorial Trophy for Rotax Max, as well as the Club Championship. Then on the 21st of October, it's the Scottish Open for the S-Plate for all classes, as well as the Club Championship, before the season concludes on the 18th of November for the final round of the Club Championships. All you need to know is on the website, wskc.co.uk. It's been wonderful being back in Scotland again for Super 1, and it's great to know as well that we have the television crews are here as well for TDI Media, so the televised finals will once again be up on the YouTube channel for each of the classes here, and it'll be great to see these drivers discerning and earning their stripes and their television coverage, which will hopefully give a few steely-eyed sponsors who want to invest into the world of motor racing a young superstar to shoot for. We are seconds away from the start of the Senior X30 time qualifying session, the last of our time qualifying groups. And this one is going to be an interesting one, because, again, in my book, we've got about 6 or 7 drivers who can definitely grab pole position. I think pretty much everyone has a chance to be in that top 10, though. They're all, again, very closely matched in Senior X30. So it's all about who's done their homework and who's got the best setup. But it all counts for experience. We're not only just looking at the leaders overall, we're also looking for the top privateer, the top rookie. There's going to be an amazing spread of drivers through this field. Let's find out who's going to do it. We'll talk about the drivers as they come out. One of the additions, of course, is the 77, Rashid Ghanem, the Lebanese driver for M Sport Karting. He's in the mix as well. So let's see them all head out onto the circuit for their timed qualifying session. This is Senior X30, of course, so they don't all rush to get out on the circuit first of all. They're going to wait and play these psychological mind games that they always do. And it's going to be interesting to see who goes out when each other goes out. Now we've got a lot of them trying to find that clear space and head out onto the circuit. It's going to be a busier racetrack than we're used to seeing over the course of the time qualifying so far, as the drivers head out onto the circuit to get a little bit more speed. But now there's going to be 3 drivers competing for top rookie honours, and there's going to be 2 drivers competing for the top privateer honour in Paul Stewart and Owen Byatt. And as I say that, the session begins in earnest as drivers are completing their first flying lap. Although, of course, that is one that's going to have 6 seconds of dawdling in the likes of the drivers, because they won't have got quite up to speed yet. So its first lap is not representative of what their ultimate times will be. So we'll have to wait for their second flying lap to get a decent spread of the running order. For what it's worth, though, the first lap around the circuit that is timed is currently set by Ewan Wilson. Wilson has set the fastest lap. We still don't have everybody out there on the circuit as yet, because there's a bit of a problem in the pits for the 97. Now, that is a major problem for... Who is that in the mix? The 97. Oh, my apologies, it's not. It's 92 who's got a problem there in the pits. Now, that is one of the KR Sport drivers. So that is a bit of a headache already. We don't have a lap time. We've just had lap time started up for Owen Byatt and Morgan Porter. The 92 is Henry Laws. So problems for Henry Laws in the pits at the moment, as he is trying to get himself out there for at least a couple of laps of qualifying, as we've only got 4 minutes left in the session. But that's a big problem for Henry Laws down there in the pits trying to get the kart started up. Oliver Hodgson is currently fastest in qualifying at the end of his first flying lap. Levi King goes faster. So Levi King goes up to the top. Then it's Hodgson, Turner, Armstrong, Butcher, Stewart, Byatt, Wilson, Anna Morris in 9th and Joe Turney in 10th. A good start to the day for Anna Morris in the Jade Racing team. Good to see her working her way forward. Across the line, Thomas Turner goes fastest of all. Elliot Harvey goes 4th. Now we're getting some good lap times in, as we've got Turner leading from Lewis Malin. Then Morgan Porter goes 2nd. So it's Turner, Porter, Malin, Jackson, Ganem, Brad Pennell, then Saul Robinson, Jensen Brown, Levi King, and Oliver Hodgson. Paul Stewart comes up to 3rd. Morgan comes up to 2nd. Hodgson goes fastest of all. Turney goes 2nd fastest. King goes 4th. Butcher now goes 4th, the Australian. So a really good start to proceedings. Hodgson, Turney, Turner, Butcher, King, Morgan, Stewart, Porter, Malin, Jackson and Byatt ahead of Rashid Ghanem. So that's the order at the moment. Then it's Pennell, Robinson, Brown, Hudson, Morris, Matchell. Elliot Harvey breaks into the top 20. Scott Jackson's gone fastest of all, the leading rookie. Good run from Jackson. Thomas Turner in 2nd, Porter 3rd. Then it's Hodgson, Turney, Malin, Pennell, Butcher, Robinson and King in the top 10. But still the order shuffles as Morgan now goes 2nd. Laws heads out onto the circuit, so thank goodness they've got the car started. But he's only really going to get 2 flying laps of the circuit once he's got up to speed. Maybe 3 at a push. Oliver Hodgson matches Jackson's time to the 100th of a second. 38.20 from these guys. The top 8 are covered by less than a 10th of a second at the moment. A quarter of a second separates the top 19 karts. Turner is 1st, Hodgson 2nd, Bradley Pennell now comes up to 3rd. Malin goes top of it all, 38.09. Porter now up to 2nd place. Turner 3rd from Hodgson, Pennell, Jackson, Morgan, Turney, Byatt and Levi King. Very close indeed in the top 10. Less than a quarter of a second. Hodgson goes 2nd fastest, 100th away from Lewis Malin's time of a 38.09. Porter's 3rd, Turney's up to 5th place behind Thomas Turner. Then Brad Pennell in 6th, Jackson, Morgan, Byatt and Levi King. Then it's Rashid Ghanem from the Lebanon. Sean Butcher is the Australian in 12th. Then the Singapore driver Alexander Huang is in 13th. And it's Paul Stewart, Jensen Brown and Archie Tillett ahead of Robinson, Hudson, Matchell and Armstrong. Elliot Harvey's way down in 21st, 0.4 of a second off the pace. Same story for Angus Moulsdale, who should be right up there in the top 10, but 0.4 of a second down is a massive, massive margin in this category. Wilson is 23rd, that's Ewan Wilson. Then it's Anna Morris, Josh Thompson-White, Sky Siddle and Henry Laws. But at the front of the field, it is Lewis Malin, 100th of a second ahead of Hodgson. Then it's Levi King, Morgan Porter, Thomas Turner, Joe Turney, Brad Pennell, Scott Jackson, Derek Morgan and Owen Byatt. A minute to go. Thomas Turner remains in P5 at the moment as he goes across the line. And with a minute to go in the time qualifying session here at Super 1 at Larkhall, it's going to be very, very tight indeed between these guys in Senior X30. Less than half a second covers the top 25 karts out of the 27 karts that are doing lap times. Henry Laws has just done a time that puts him to within a couple of seconds of the dais. Sean Butcher up to 7th now, the Australian. But we're running out of time in this session. Half a minute to go. Checkered flag once again being prepared, but there's still quite a long time until we're going to wave it, because the drivers are still putting in some decent times. Thomas Turner not able to go faster than a 38.17. Less than a 10th of a second covers the top 6 again here in Senior X30 as they continue to battle around the circuit. We're in the final seconds. Lewis Malin is still at the top at the moment, ahead of Hodgson, King, Porter, Turner and Turney. And the checkered flag will go out now. And the first one over the line is the 57 of Sean Butcher, the Australian. He can't go faster than 7th place in the Mick Barrett racing cart, but that will do as far as he's concerned. 7th place, 1/10 of a second off pole position. Pretty good going. Some difficult days at the office so far. Turner comes across the line, and I don't think he's made an improvement. So we'll see how they go. Lewis Malin finishes his run and stays on a 38.09. I'm not sure we're going to get any personal bests now as the rubber has all been laid down. But the drivers will come through, and I think it's going to be Lewis Malin who will finish off at the top of the dais. Oliver Hodgson in 2nd place from Levi King, and Morgan Porter, who comes through in the 46, or at least should have done, but I think he's already bailed. So Lewis Malin on pole from Oliver Hodgson, Levi King and Morgan Porter. Great battle here in the Senior X30 time qualifying session. It's Malin from Hodgson, King and Porter, Thomas Turner, Joe Turney, Sean Butcher, Brad Pennell, Scott Jackson and Derek Morgan in the top 10, all covered by less than 0.15 of a second. Byatt is 11th from Huang, Brown, Ganem, Stewart, Tillett, Robinson, Hudson, Matchell and Armstrong. Then it is Elliot Harvey and Angus Mulsdale well down the order. Ewan Wilson, Josh Thompson-White, Anna Morris, Sky Siddle and Henry Laws. And the battle is going to be raging when they take the start. Well, that's the end of the qualifying sessions, the conclusion of today's morning session. And now, of course, we're going to get ourselves ready for action from the Bambinos, first of all, as the heats will get underway a little bit later on. 13 races to come at about 2:30 this afternoon. Join us then as we get on with racing here at Larkhall in Scotland for the 3rd weekend of the Tuto Money Super 1 British Karting Championships.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.